title, The Reflection. They say mirrors are a window to another world. But what happens when something looks back at you? It all began when Emma moved into the old Victorian house at the edge of town. The kind of house locals crossed the street to avoid. With its peeling paint and cracked windows, it had stood vacant for years. But Emma, an artist seeking solitude, saw beauty in its decay. The day she moved in, she found an ornate full-length mirror in the attic. The frame was carved with twisting vines and strange symbols she couldn't identify. Something about it felt off. But it was beautiful, and Emma decided to bring it down to her bedroom. At first, the mirror seemed ordinary. She used it to sketch, fascinated by how the light warped and danced on its surface. But soon, strange things began to happen. One night, as she was brushing her hair before bed, she noticed something peculiar. Her reflection moved out of sync, a fraction of a second behind her. Emma froze, staring at the glass. Had she imagined it? She waved her hand slowly. The reflection followed, perfectly this time. Shaking her head, she dismissed it as exhaustion and went to sleep. But the next night, the mirror revealed more. As Emma worked on a painting, she felt eyes on her. Glancing at the mirror, she saw her reflection sitting perfectly still, though she was moving. A chill ran down her spine. She turned to look behind her, but there was nothing there. Emma tried to ignore the mirror, draping it with a sheet the next day. But that night, she woke up to a soft, rhythmic tapping. It was coming from the mirror. Her heart pounded as she approached. The sheet had fallen to the floor. On the other side of the glass, her reflection stood motionless. But then it smiled. "This is impossible," Emma whispered, backing away. The reflection tilted its head, still grinning. And then, it stepped forward. Emma screamed as the glass rippled like water. The reflection didn't come through, but its hand pressed against the inside of the glass. A handprint smeared across the surface, as if it were real. Emma ran out of the room and slept on the couch, too terrified to go back. The next day, Emma tried to remove the mirror, but no matter how hard she pulled, it wouldn't budge from the wall. She called a local handyman, who stared at her with a mix of pity and amusement. "There's nothing keeping this mirror here," he said after inspecting it. "It's just heavy, I guess. You sure you want to get rid of something this fancy?" But Emma was adamant. The handyman promised to come back with help, but he never did. That night, Emma heard whispers. She lay awake, clutching a flashlight, when she realized the whispers were coming from the mirror. Slowly, she approached, her hands trembling. Inside the mirror, the reflection was no longer alone. Behind it stood shadowy figures, their eyes glowing faintly in the darkness. The reflection leaned closer, pressing its face against the glass, its lips forming silent words. Emma turned and ran, locking herself in the bathroom. But the whispers followed, growing louder, more insistent. "Let me out," they begged. She covered her ears, rocking back and forth until the first rays of dawn peeked through the window. Desperate, Emma decided to destroy the mirror. She grabbed a hammer and swung it with all her might. The glass shattered into 1,000 shards, scattering across the floor. For the first time in days, Emma felt a sense of relief. But as she turned to leave, she froze. In every shard of broken glass, her reflection stared back. Not one of them moved. And then they smiled. "Some mirrors are never truly broken. Be careful what looks back at you."